So I would like to start with the next slide. I think Boehringer Ingelheim, that's the company I'm working for, has a mission. And I think ChemAxon has a mission as well. And I think those two go hand in hand. The mission from ChemAxon is really to enable the scientists, as you all know, to work with chemistry data, chemical data. And the vision for Boehringer is to serve the patients. And our mission as IT is then finally to enable the scientists. That are the goals we do have in common. This is, I think most of you know, this is the building from ChemAxon. ChemAxon is 16 years young, has 140 employees, I think about 40 products, and great people who are dedicated, motivated, and enthusiastic. And I really have to say, I'm focusing now on differences, but I really like to work with you. So this is Boehringer, one side of 140 sites, and we do have 47,000 employees, quite a lot. And I'm proud to be part of Boehringer as well and contribute to this mission. And we made a decision in 2012. The decision was to migrate, for several reasons, from ISIS to ChemAxon toolset. So there was the decision in 2012. We went with the migration for all of the tools we used in two waves. One wave was finalized last year with the first, with some pilots with about 15 systems, larger and smaller, with just 2,000 structures and 2 million structures. I think one was 20 million structures with a lot of users, with less users. We focused on the cartridge technology and some basics, so standard installations, standard deployments, all of those things. At the moment, we are in the scoping phase for the next wave, and we would like to introduce more intensively tools like Instant JChem for Excel. We would like to integrate the .NET controls, and we are looking more in the desktop application. This is a big change, and I think you already realized that we are happy with the change. But nevertheless, there are some hurdles we see, and I think some of the hurdles are because of the differences of the size and differences of the expectations we have based on this. So I tried to find a picture for the difference, and I found a motorboat on the one hand. That's ChemAxon, agile on the one hand and flexible and everything. And we are very fast as well as Boehringer, but we have, for example, if you are thinking of migration tools, we can't go on like a little motorboat because we don't have to transfer just one product for one user or 10 or 100. We have to migrate for 1,000 users for a lot of applications, and therefore you have to have other means. So it's easy to transport just one with a motorboat, but if you have to transfer it or transport it for thousands, you have to use other means. And I would like to go a bit in detail, just as an example, with software deployment. So I would say the picture, therefore I asked the question at the beginning, the picture might be, there is a new release of a software. Go ahead, go to the homepage, download site of ChemAxon, load it down, and then install it. Great. I think it takes about 10 minutes. And I think if you do it this twice a year, because you do have two versions, these are 20 minutes. Multiplying it for 1,000 users, 20,000 minutes. Multiplying it now 3 times for JChem for Excel, for Instant JChem, and for Marvin, you do have, when I sum it up, 120 days if you are calculating a day with 8 hours. That's quite a lot. So we are going, as a lot of you do as well, we are going on with standard packages, with packaging factories, and this is great for scientists because they really can concentrate on their work. They just have to register, and it's installed automatically. But to be very honest, it's challenging for us as IS, just to provide this to IS, sorry. Therefore, we are hesitating to deploy all 4 weeks a new version. It's just not possible. And if there is a bug in a software, it's really challenging because we can't just exchange those things. There is another topic I would like to talk about. We have standards and we do have policies. There are policies, internal rule sets, internal standards. So there aren't thousands of different versions for Oracle and Linux and whatever. There is 1 or 2 versions. There are rules if we integrate other applications. They support just several versions, so we have to follow them as well. But what I want to describe with this picture, there are boundaries and limitations we have to follow. We just can't take anything and fit it in. It has to fit in. That means it's great that the software mostly is done in a way that we can configure it. But sometimes we've seen situations and toolset from ChemAxon as well where it was a bit challenging. And I think it's great that we do have the opportunity to talk with ChemAxon about these challenges, because then we see there is a reaction and you try to answer our challenges, but I think it's very important to talk about this. Okay, this is a picture that shows a little bit the architecture of our organization. I think I've forgotten to say that we are 47,000 employees and we are 1,400 IT persons within Boehringer globally. And we are organized in a way that we do have peers all over the world, and I appreciate this cooperation very much. It's really, it's a good thing on the one hand, but on the other hand, communication is sometimes a challenge. I think that's obvious. And the second thing is, what I see when you're working in smaller companies, one person knows everything. A person can access database, can act as a database administrator, can act as system administrator, software developer, project lead, everything in one person. In a larger, global, organized IT department, I would say we do have several layers. When I look on the organization, you see it on the right side, the blue columns of ChemAxon, at least that's what I see. The people, you are more focused on the products and you do have a broader range. So you can work and talk about database issues and operating system issues as well as development issues. And we are talking together, and sometimes I found it difficult to find the right speech. So if I'm talking as a project lead, I can talk more as a coordinator, but I do not have the details. And when we do have problems and we are asking ChemAxon for help and support, we get it, and that's great. But I just can't grab this, and I have to find somebody who can implement this. So in a very large company, these are the challenges. And when I thought about this picture, I thought it might be worth to talk about that, or make it more obvious that it's great to have support from ChemAxon, but sometimes it might be more effective for all of us really to have hands-on solutions. That means sitting together really working on the PCs with all of the people that are necessary and get to the solution till it's really done. At the moment, sometimes we are getting code example, that's great. But as I've said, I first have to find somebody who can implement it. Okay, roadmaps are relevant. These are the things I have to look if I don't forget things. Okay, this is the topic I mentioned before lunch. Seeing all of the dependencies we do have, because we have to deliver for a lot of users, it is very important to plan. So normally I can't just start with a solution. Now I have to plan it. I have to scope it. I have to ensure that I do have the capacities I need. And sometimes it's very important to see which of our requirements are addressed in which versions. It's very important as well to see, to really to be able to plan what functionality will be delivered with which version, so we can perhaps skip a version and go with the next one, that we can adjust the project plans to your plans as well. Dependencies. We had partner sessions this morning, and we are using, for example, Spotfire. We are using IDBS, and those are two solutions or vendors who are integrating ChemAxon tools. And that's great, but they support sometimes only the version, let me say 6.1, and if you are delivering 6.3, we do have problems. We do have one version normally rolled out for BI globally, so we can't just use now 6.3 because we do have dependencies with the support of Spotfire and as well for IDBS. This is just one little example, but you can imagine there are a lot of dependencies. Seeing that, for example, JChem for Excel, Instant JChem and Marvin are, I would say, horizontal tools. They are across all of the databases below or solutions below. There is a dependency that you can't just change one of the cartridges or versions of the cartridges if there is a dependency with those horizontal tools. That's important to know, and I just want to share you that we have to focus on this and that we have to keep the dependencies as little as possible. We as Boehringer and ChemAxon as well. And I think it's very important for us as well to have something like a compatibility matrix, so we know which client version works with which cartridge version and so on, so we can plan. So how to approach the best results? I think somehow I gave you some ideas, transparency about the plans, but I think the most important things is that the ChemAxon perhaps embrace this thought that we can't change so much, that we are not as agile because we have to do it for thousands. But I think it's very important as well that you know that we like the agility you do have and the flexibility, because I think this is something we can see as a challenge and try to get the best of it. So at the final end, we have to be in communication, we have to listen to each other and be aware of the different situations, and I think we should go enthusiastic and dedicated to the work towards our goals, common goals. So I have no idea about the time. Was I too fast? Okay, so thanks.
How did the chemists and lab technicians accept the change from ISIS to the ChemAxon software, which is different in look and feel, different in the way it represents chemistry, and differs in a lot of details. Mm-hmm. So how did they accept that they had to change the way they work?
Very different. So we have users, we are just in the stage of migration, and we have users that are really excited about the new functionalities and the new means and the way how we can integrate and put together things. But there are others who are really more than hesitating because, and I think this is obvious, the people are working since more than 20 years with the tools. They are just catching the structures directly out of the mind on ISIS. And the way how you do it, for example, with Marvin is different, so you have to take time. So I can't say negative, positive, we have everything there. But I think at the final end, it will go the road in a good way.
Any other questions?
Hi, Edith. I think that's a really interesting talk, and I think there's a lot of stuff that we'll probably take on a one-to-one afterwards as well about how to do things differently. I think as we change in some respects the way we're developing software as well, and we've changed a lot of our teams and things lately, I think we'll have to take a lot of these thoughts and ideas on board. The question I have, though, is that a unique problem to ChemAxon? Have you got other vendors in similar situations? And if so, how are you solving it? So what's your proposal to, how would you deal with some of these things?
I would say this is a problem we do have in general as a big company. I think it might be a bit specific with ChemAxon because we are new together, so it's really to somehow establishing a relationship, so you know how we are thinking, how we are acting. That's the one thing. And on the other hand, and I think this is really important, I wouldn't lose this flexibility and agility you do have, the responsiveness. So it's, yeah. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, that's fine. But I do have some further ideas, but I will talk about it afterwards.
Okay.